Hello there again, my name's Alan Darby. I'm a member of dwpcorruption.co.uk. I'd like to introduce you to another aspect of corruption, and maybe like myself and other victims of crime, when you get involved in organised crime, it's not really long before, in any aspect of whatever you're doing, you don't have to look too deep. If you've got the experience of taking note of some things that aren't quite right, you start turning over stones, and before you know who you are, you're up to your neck in corruption. I started this little episode which I'm going to tell you about because I'm an artist, and I was a member of the Black Country Visual Arts Network, and I was approached by the borough artist Stephen Fields, who works for Dudley Council, and he offered me a payment for a project I was working on, which was a copy of the Titanic's anchor, and the anchor of the Olympic, made by Noah Henleys of Netherton in Dudley, very historical events. And he then sent me on to what I call the Black Country Museum, which is, in actual fact, its correct name is the Black Country Living Museum. But because of the corruption that I experienced from the council and Ian Waldron, the chief executive of the Black Country Museum, shook me to my core. I didn't think I'd experience anything like what I did as being an artist. I wasn't looking for anything, but it seemed to just fall about my feet, and I uncovered what was literally again another multi-million-pound fraud, which nobody's going to investigate. Now, I wrote to Ian Pearson after I uncovered the corruption, and I wrote two letters to him. One on the 11th of November 2008, explaining that I was an artist and that I'd uncovered a suspicion of corruption, which involved the Arts Council of Dudley. The chief executive was informed. I saw him, and he made an appointment for me to show my work to Councillor Shakespeare and a bloke called Lowndes, Duncan Lowndes. And he put this in writing to them, and I didn't get the chance to show my work, and I was very annoyed about it because Dudley's had its history stolen for the last 100 years. There's no representation of the anchor. The Titanic is the best known ship in the world. It would have been very lucrative for Dudley to have a representation of one of their famous steel masters, Noah Henley, who were at one time the biggest wrought iron makers in the country, and they made by far the largest anchor in the world circa 1900, and it probably was the largest anchor for the next 50 years. A 20-ton anchor which was going on the Olympic and Titanic class of ships, but because the Olympic was the original design, there was only ever 2 anchors made, where each ship carried 3 anchors. The Olympic had, in actual fact, odd socks, and yet it had a fantastic history. It was the only ship in the civil service to sink an enemy ship. It rammed and sank a submarine and had a 22-year service. It's not as well known as the Titanic, but it definitely was a most important ship of the White Star Line. It was the best built ship they could possibly ever make, and the Titanic was the sister ship of the Olympic, and it hit an iceberg and virtually broke in half after the collision. However, there'll be more said on that because I wrote a book on it, on the history of it, and I met Martin Hussock as an historian, and I came across Martin, and he was giving me information which I didn't have possession of, as a lot of people have helped me with the construction of the book, which is tells the true story of the great events that took place in 1909, when English were making the world's biggest anchors. Fantastic challenge to the men and the steel masters of Dudley, and for the last 100 years, because the anchors hold the key to why Titanic sank. That's why it's never been publicised. They've got even Ireland hasn't got a copy or a model of the anchor. Now that's saying something when they opened up the Titanic Quarter in Belfast that they spent over £1.2 billion on the Titanic Quarter, and Dudley hasn't even got a model of the anchor. Strange or anything. But it would have opened up all the floodgates on the explanation why the Titanic sank, and I've opened up that and I'll give the explanation as to why the Titanic sank. Now, because of the corruption, I contacted the MP, Ian Austin, and I also contacted the MP for South Dudley, which is where Noah Lindsay's are, and it covers Dudley Council, which is Ian Pearson, and I call them in the book Yin and Yang, Ian Austin, Ian Pearson, and they have got an association. They're both silent witnesses to each other because they will not act in the best interest of the public. I've wrote and explained where to look, where to find the evidence of the corruption, and none of them have answered the letters. I wrote a letter to Ian Pearson on the 22nd of January 09, and I wrote another one on the 10th of February. Access of these letters can be gained by looking at the evidence after the video. Now, the corruption is manifest. They know that corruption is being committed by Dudley Council. The taxpayers are the losers. The council is spending millions of pounds, losing millions of pounds on what can be described as, from my prospect, junk art. Nothing more than junk art. One of the pieces that was quite substantial, and I can say with some clarification that it is a decent piece of art. That is the splenia, which is on the metro line in Bloxwood, I believe it is, and it's a big aluminium horse. It was a Viking horse with 6 legs that it was used by Odin so he could make attacks on land and water. Splenia, big piece of artwork, very nice, but it cost £500,000, £500,000. But the other pieces are junk all round Dudley, are laughable. They are an absolute disgrace, and this is where the con comes in. All the work was done by the county artist Stephen Fields. Now, you've all heard of the £56 million white elephant, the public in West Bromwich, the gallery that is like the ship that never sailed. It's just gone into liquidation. The taxpayers paid £65 million for it, and I refer to it in the book as a convention centre for all the Olympians when we have the Olympics, and it's their restroom, a place where they can go for quiet rest and solitude without being interfered by or disturbed by the public. That's the public gallery. It may be used for that because the public don't use it, and it's just gone into liquidation. But Stephen Fields, while they was trying to scrape the money together, closing swing bats down and all the other amenities in West Brom, Stephen Fields went and sold them 2 works of art. For how much, I don't know, because when I contacted him in person he wouldn't act. So I wrote to Dudley Council under the Freedom of Information Act, and I was answered by Ajab S. Paul. He's an Asian, obviously, with a name like Ajab, A-J-A-I-B. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. I don't wish to be offensive to any Asian people looking, and I'm not being facetious by saying I can't spell, but I can't pronounce his name. Ajab S. Paul. If it's wrong, please accept my apologies. I'm not being facetious or taking the mick in any way. But this man writes to me on the 21st of January. The Freedom of Information Act 2000, Information Request 2261. I acknowledge your request for the information received on the 19th of the 1st, 2009. Your request is being considered and you will receive the information request within statutory time scale of 20 working days as defined by the Freedom of Information Act. There's the date there. Excuse me. Look, it is it's dated the 21st, believe you me, because the document can be seen. Now he's telling me that he's given me 20 days and he's accepted my letter. Yet, on the same date, the 21st of January, I have another letter. 2 letters in 2 separate envelopes on the same day. Freedom of Information Act 2000. Information request. I write to inform you that request for information will not be processed. Oops. Dropped the clanger there, chaps, didn't we?